First, the assassination of Iran's top general, then Iranian retaliation. In the deepening conflict between Iran and the United States, the European Union seems caught in the middle.
The current crisis deeply affects not only the region but all of us. And the use of weapons must stop now to give space to dialogue.
Talks seem to be the only feasible option here in Brussels at the moment.
The European kind of dilemma is that they, of course, want to put additional pressure on Iran, but at the same time, they don't want to side too openly with the United States. That's the dilemma that the Europeans are in. This is what their politics looks like. How do you find the magic formula that, keeps you in that position that, satisfies both needs?
The EU is clinging on to the 2015 nuclear deal signed by EU countries France, the UK and Germany, among others. The so-called JCPOA is supposed to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons in return for the lifting of UN sanctions. However, US President Trump pulled out in 2018. He's since reimposed sanctions. A move met with anger in Tehran, which in response has step-by-step reduced its own commitments to the deal, further limiting the EU's ability to weigh in on the issue.
This JCPOA was the only stake the Europeans really had in the Iran issue. That's what made them important in the Iran context, and now that's out of the window, plus the situation is escalating and they have no influence.
Now some hope lies in this man, Mohammad Zarif, the Iranian foreign minister. He's been invited back to Brussels in an attempt to bring Iranians back to the table and negotiate a way out of the crisis.
For more on this story, DW's chief political editor, Michaela Küfner, spoke to the head of Germany's Parliamentary Foreign Affairs Committee, that's Conservative Norbert Röttgen. She asked him whether Europe should continue to stick to the Iran nuclear deal despite demands from President Trump to accept that it was dead.
Absolutely. And as long as there is no better option to make sure that Iran does not develop nuclear weapons, I think we should stick to that. Of course, we have to see and we have to face the facts that the US has withdrawn from this treaty and by this economically has massively damaged the effectivity of the agreement. So we should stick to that. Perhaps we should embrace his proposal to broaden the negotiation and the relationship to Iran, not only to focus just on the nuclear aspect, but to include further regional aspects in order to create a broader arrangement for regional stability. I think we should embrace and appreciate this approach. And I think the role for the Europeans to make this possible is absolutely vital and crucial.
Now, Europe keeps talking about broadening this Iran nuclear deal. Trump wants a new deal, which also has his name on the paper. How do you read the action of the US president right now?
I read his actions in the way that he is absolutely determined to avoid war. He thinks at the same time that he can't afford to be seen as weak. And this is absolutely parallel to the Iranian leadership. They want to avoid war. Despite their aggressions, but they can't afford to be seen as weak. So I think there is a viable approach by the US president to substitute the JCPOA, which he has loathed all the time, with a new diplomatic approach. How far this can go, we have to see, but this at least is a new tune from Washington, that he is not only sticking to the policy of maximum pressure, but that he has introduced the aspect of negotiation and diplomatic approaches.
What will happen to German engagement in Iraq if the US troops have to leave?
This is absolutely clear. We want to stay because we see our objective there as not yet accomplished, to really have the victory make sure that ISIS is defeated in Iraq, and to contribute to the stability and unity of the country. So we want to stay there. But if the United States were forced by the Iraqi government to leave the country because they were declared as not being welcomed there, then we would also have to leave because we are interdependent in our military presence there and we need to have the US there as our allies and partners.
Norbert Röttgen, head of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the German Bundestag, thank you very much.